Basically, what I decided was no matter what, I had to make sure that my company kept going, whether or not I was bankrupt, or I had no money, or didn't know what I was doing. I still had to find a way. One of the things I think that we do have as an advantage as a Vietnamese company is that, people, I think, know China very well. Yeah. And well, that's where brand comes in, right? We might not be the cheapest on the market, but we will tell you what we can and can't do sustainably.
Welcome everyone to Vietnam Entrepreneurs on VIETSUCCESS. I'm Vanessa Phan, the CEO and founder of analytics, tech and data consulting firm, and also the host of the show. This day, sustainability is a growing topic to all Vietnamese consumers. More and more people care about the green product, care about environment. Today, we are glad to welcome Ms. Marina Tran-Vu, the CEO and founder of EQUUO. She will share about her startup journey and also the raising fund strategy for her startup.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming to the show. And can you introduce a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I am Vietnamese, but I was born and raised in Canada. Yes. I came to Vietnam about 3.5 years ago. Prior to that, I studied in Canada. I also worked in Canada for a number of years. So I worked for companies like Unilever, Bacardi, LG, doing brand and marketing for them. So I launched a lot of products for them in the market. And then, I came over here about 3.5 years ago. Really, the intention was just to stay for 1 year, connect with my heritage a little bit. But then I started EQUUO about 2.5 years ago. And ever since, it's been a really wild ride.
What is your motivation behind the current startup, like green product? EQUUO, right?
Yeah, I mean,
it's quite tough to me.
It's very tough. And I'll be honest with you, prior to my startup, I wasn't actually the most sustainable person. I heard a lot about it. You see a lot on social media about, we got to save the planet. We got to care more about the environment. I always loved the environment because I grew up in Vancouver where there's a lot of nature. It's very beautiful. But really what drove me was the birth of my nephew, actually. So my nephew is now 3 as well. And he's very, very cute. He's half Korean, half Vietnamese. Super cute. And I, oddly enough, didn't really love babies before or kids, but there's something about, having, a child come into your life. And this was my sister's son. And he came into my life and I was like, I want to do something for him. And the idea around this business and him coming into my life at the same time really motivated me. So the reason now, what drives me every single day is to try to build a better future for him and hopefully other generations to come, including my own children too.
Wow, cool. From your experience, what is the key factor to keep your startup up to now 2 years already, right?
Yeah, this sounds very weird to be honest with you, but it's just perseverance. I think that is the biggest difference between a startup that, doesn't go too far and a startup that keeps going. Basically, what I decided was no matter what, I had to make sure that my company kept going, whether or not I was bankrupt, or had no money, or didn't know what I was doing. I still had to find a way. And so perseverance and honestly, problem solving too are the biggest reasons why I think our startup is still around. Otherwise, if I just didn't keep going, even though I had 20 things going against me, we would have stopped honestly a long time ago because we started our company during the pandemic, which was really a difficult time period.
Yes. So how about the selling part? How you sell to customers during that period of time?
This is actually what kind of was built into our business model a little bit. So traditionally, this category for straws and utensils and everything is considered like food service, which is more of a B2B customer versus a direct-to-consumer customer. But as everyone knows, during the pandemic, a whole bunch of restaurants and businesses, hospitality, they all shut down or they were significantly impacted. And so I was trying to figure out a way for our business to still keep going, to still run, especially in these categories. And so that's when we actually shifted to online. So a majority of our business when we started, basically like 99% of our business when we started was direct to consumer online. So we actually created retail packaging, which was also something that wasn't seen in the industry. Straws and forks and knives and spoons and things like that. They're not very sexy as a category, people don't really pay attention to it. They don't even invest in it. So what you'll see is that most people can't name a brand within the category, so that's something that we wanted to do that was different. We're like, okay, if we're going to go do retail, we want to be a brand that owns the category. If you think of a straw or you think of a fork that's sustainable, you think of EQUO. And so that is what made us different. So that's how we sold in the first probably year and a half of our business. And then now that things have started to open up, we've been able to shift that to B2B to our customers and acquire them.
Yeah. So how did you define your target customer?
Yeah. Trial and error. I think big one was trial and error. Again, we didn't really know much about the retail consumer for straws because you don't really think about the main consumer of straws, just going into a convenience store, grocery store, picking up a pack of straws or forks, to bring home. But what we learned during the pandemic is because people were staying home, they were hosting maybe small get-togethers or parties at home. People were a lot more concerned about cleanliness as well. So, they wanted things that you can use once and throw away. But we are also trying to think about, okay, what can you use once and throw away that was also sustainable, a better impact on the planet. And so we had to learn about that consumer a little bit. So that's when we started saying, okay, they need smaller packs for at home. They'll probably need different sizes. People are probably drinking a lot during the pandemic, to get through things. So we got to do cocktail, retail packaging. So that's why we focused on that. And then at the same time, using this time when people had a lot of time on their hands to educate them about the different materials. And so that's how we figured out our target consumer. It was through trial and error and just learning about their behaviors, their shifted behaviors during the pandemic. And then after that, then we start to learn more about the B2B businesses, which have been there for a very long time and what their needs were, which is primarily on cost versus anything, cost and quality as a balance.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
So another question about the cost. I think right now China also produce a lot of same product as you.
Yes.
And they have a huge factories and lower costs. How can we compete with them?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think one of the things that people do forget is that I think China is an amazing country in the fact that they're able to produce things very quickly, replicate them, but then also on top of that, make them better or make them cheaper. And that's one of, it's one of three things I think you need as a startup. You either have to do things better, faster, or cheaper. It's one of the three things, right? And they are on almost all fronts able to do that for all three in every single category. So China, it's very hard to compete. One of the things I think that we do have as an advantage as a Vietnamese company is that, people, I think, know China very well. And that could be either good or bad, either politically, economically, socially. There's certain things and certain points of view that people have about China. And we can use that to our advantage because a lot of people don't know about Vietnam. They don't know about, what we can produce and the innovation. And most of the time, they don't really have a negative connotation or thought about Vietnam versus China. Sometimes there are some things out there that people believe about China that really bias them against Chinese products. So I think that's one thing that might work in our favor a little bit. Whether that's right or wrong, to be honest with you, I'm not too sure about that, but it does work in our favor. The second thing too is that I think what China does focus a lot on is more mass production. And sometimes in that you can lose a lot of things. You can lose the quality, you can lose authenticity, you can lose the original purpose of why you built that brand. And one of the things that we see with a lot of producers is that they're so focused focused on making money, lowest cost, that they forget why they started it in the first place. So the reason why you might have created a grass straw was because you really wanted a sustainable alternative. When you start to mass produce and become bigger as a company, maybe you forget. So now, yes, it's a grass straw, but we package everything in, plastic because it's cheaper, or, we do things with plastic or certain polluting factors because it's more cost effective. And we've seen that. We've seen our competitors in China, our competitors actually around the world, create grass straws, sugarcane straws, put them into a plastic bag, and then ship them. What's the point of that? The idea is to reduce single-use plastic. So when you get that big, and when you focus on cost so much, sometimes you lose the original meaning and integrity and story. And I think that's what makes us so different and why people like us a lot.
How can you keep that? A lot of challenging during your startup life, I know.
Yeah. And well, that's where brand comes in, right? We might not be the cheapest on the market, but we will tell you what we can and can't do sustainably. We will tell you that the story and the reason why we built this was not just profitability. We're the only ones really in the market as a straw brand or a fork brand or whatever brand. As a sustainable brand, we're one of the only ones in this category that takes the time to educate schools, educate the consumer, put out more information and work with NGOs. That is something that we do. And I guarantee you a lot of the other factories that are producing the stuff don't take the time to do that because they just focus on the bottom line. So working with a lot of the universities, we try to find very basic ways of teaching not only university students, but all society more about sustainability. When you run your own business, you will get things thrown at you left and right. All of a sudden, $40,000 bill for something. And I'm like, what? There are very weird words like, why do you want to buy a new part of my company? So that was my first foray.
Can you share more about how you educate the school?
Yeah, so I've been very fortunate enough to work with a lot of different universities, different university clubs too. And I have to say, the next generation, they're so amazing.
Yes, I know.
they're so smart, and they're
fast
really
learner.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're not like, I would say, maybe some previous generations who waited around. If they want to get something done, they'll go and do it. If they want to talk to you, they want to fix something in society, they'll go and do it.
They think about the society more than other generations.
Exactly. And so a lot of actually university clubs and universities themselves have approached us and said, hey, we'd love to work together. We'd love to learn more about not only your startup, how you built it, but we also want to learn more about sustainability. And I would say that my view on sustainability is quite unique and different because I wasn't an environmental scientist or anything. I started my journey when I started my company, and so I think it makes it a lot more relatable to a lot of not only the younger generation, but the people who are starting their sustainability journey and trying to learn how to be more eco-friendly. I think that is more relevant. And so working with a lot of the universities, we try to find very basic ways of teaching not only university students, but all society more about sustainability.
Wow, I understand you already. A long journey, right? Yes.
Right.
And now I think also have quite a big grape already. That you have raised 1.3 million. Yes. Can you share more about that?
Yes. So it was a little bit of a weird journey, to be honest with you. So when I started my business, I was probably one of the fewest people in business, let alone in the world, that did not know anything about startups. To be honest with you, it was a completely different world for me. There's Facebook and everything else, and I was like, you know what? I don't know anything about startups, and I don't really care. I don't know anything about VCs raising money, and so I was like, okay, I didn't know anything about it. But then I started my business. And for the first year, I self-funded the business. I thought this would be okay. And then I realized, man, I'm running out of money. I was
Too
like,
fast, right?
Yeah, you never really know. And it was because also this was during the pandemic. At first, I was like, you know what? I can manage my budget. I know how to do this. I've worked, in big companies. I've managed huge budgets. I know how to do this. When you run your own business, you will get things thrown at you left and right. Yes. All of a sudden, $40,000 bill for something. And I'm like, what? where did this come from? Why am I being charged this? Or like, oh, well, if you want to get your product out of here, you got to pay an additional amount here. Wow. The pandemic, it caused a lot of issues with shipping, logistics, and whatnot. So those were unforeseen costs. And so money that I thought I had set aside for my business was gone very quickly. So one of the first kind of turning points within this and starting to learn about raising money for me was a company actually approached us. This was about 10 months into our business. A company actually approached us and was like, I'm very interested in your business. We'd like to learn more. How would you feel about a majority acquisition offer, about 51% purchase of your company? And in the first year, we actually didn't launch our product into market. We were planning to launch it in December, a year after. And so I was like, why would you want to buy any part of my business before I even launch it into market? You don't even know it's going to sell or be successful. Why would you want that? So that was my first kind of taste of like shares and acquisition and equity. I was like, what are all these? What are all these words? They're very weird words. Like, why do you want to buy any part of my company? So that was my first foray. So after that first experience, and that experience was a huge learning experience because it was about negotiation, about valuation. We didn't agree on a valuation because I didn't know how to do valuations, So after that experience, I talked to a friend of mine who actually happened to run a very, very successful edutech sort of company, millions of dollars in revenue, been running for 10 plus years. And I told him about my business, and he's like, you know what? Let me help you a little bit. And he basically was not only an amazing friend, but became a mentor to me, taught me everything I need to know about angel investing and whatnot, and how he got his investors. He's gone through, I think, like 8 rounds of raising money. So he's very experienced in that. Then he introduced me to a company called Techstars, which is a global, startup accelerator. I got introduced to them, got into the Techstars program. From the Techstars program, they're also very amazing. They taught me everything about angel investors, introduced me a bunch of people. That's really when raising started. So I started to get my first angel investors, and then I got my first VC, and technically Techstars is a VC, so I got them in as an investor. Then I got another VC in, and then I got my last sort of round of VCs and angels in. And so it was actually a very long process. I think I raised over about 8 months because I was learning how to raise at the same time as raising. So I think it was a little bit of a different sort of experience than most startups would have. Most startups probably like 1 or 2 months, let's raise, and we're done.
Not that fast.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think I've heard people are like, I want to close in 3 weeks, and I'm like, oh, I did 8 months. So it was a very different experience I had.
Yeah, I think you are the careful person.
Careful, but to be honest with you, I didn't know what I was doing at the beginning. so that I think had a lot to do with it. So,
So and by the way, I also want to ask about the green product. Is quite difficult to get a huge machine profit, right? So how you prove your company and prove to the investor that will be the potential one. For them.
Yeah, you know what? That's a great question. So first off, our business is based off of physical products. So the margins are maybe 40-50%. Sounds like a lot, but when you compare it to tech or some other very efficient sort of products, their margins are 80-90%, right? And so when you take a look at our business, obviously I would say that most investors would be like, nah, I don't really want to invest in that. But I think we're addressing a really big sort of issue. And, keep in mind, we started addressing this issue about 2.5-3 years ago, before sustainability became a really hot topic. So I think that played a lot into our advantage as well. Another thing too is we're doing things differently. We go B2B as well as B2C, which most people recommend. And I've been told by many, many, many people, choose one. Don't be too ambitious and, and go 2 channels. Choose one and do very well. Otherwise, your business is not going to work.
But you choose both.
I mean, I still don't know if it's a good decision or not, but I kind of ignored it and said, you know what, this is what makes us unique. And I want to go B2B and B2C. And we're going to make a difference. And we're going to make a splash in this category. And people are going to know who we are because we do both, because we're going to take a chance and do both. So, I think that little bit of a different business model, I think, really attracted a lot of people. And to be honest with you, I don't think I was also the typical founder. You know, I didn't have the sustainability background, but I had an idea of what I think the consumer wanted. I had a different approach to it, and quite frankly speaking, not to kind of degrade any of my experience or anything like that, but quite frankly speaking, I think being a female founder in sustainability, being a minority as well, being a sole founder is very rare too. So I think either people were very interested and wanted to take a chance on it just because they wanted to see where things went, or they saw something completely different, which our business and myself kind of brought to the table. So I think maybe that's the reason why a lot of people invested.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. So for the audience to raise the fund, at first they need to learn about that, and then they find a good mentor, and then find a way to design the business model to be the best way that you feel the most confident to do that, and then prove to investor.
Yeah,
is that a journey?
I think that would be probably my way of doing it. Yeah. I don't know if it's the startup playbook way of doing it, but yeah, I would agree.
Okay, thank you a lot for all of your sharing a lot about the journey, the sustainability product, and a lot of things during the startup life. Thank you a lot. Last but not least, do you have any some words sent to the audience of this show?
Yes. I mean, my words are like, you know, if you're watching this show and trying to learn about whether or not you want to start your own business or, you know, progress your career in any sort of way, just first thing is just remember to believe in yourself. You know, the biggest thing that holds a lot of people back is they don't believe they can do something. And the second thing is that, you know, it's all about execution, right? One of the things that people are always tell me is like, oh yeah, I have a great idea. You know, everyone has ideas every single day. If you want to do something, get up and do it, like, and execute. You know, don't just be afraid of like what's going to happen. Just get up and do it. Otherwise, you'll never know. Yes. You'll never see your potential. So,
thank you for your sharing today. And on behalf of Vietnam Entrepreneur Series, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me again.
Yes. And thank you for your watching. If you have any concern, please give comment below this video. And then if you feel the video is helpful, please like, share, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and other podcast platform. Thank you and see you again.